Hello,
Hi.
hello, and welcome to No Todos Se Curan con Vix. We are your favorite gals here. I
Big
am
Cal.
Maggie,
Yeah, and I am Jessie.
And I am Heidi.
and today we have a very special guest.
Yes.
We have Maribel Martinez
Oh
with
my
us.
God.
We first saw Maribel in this amazing, amazing play. It was so
Yes.
Oh my
Oh
gosh.
my God.
You were phenomenal, Maribel. Phenomenal.
right. So, who is Maribel? Maribel Martinez is a multi talented artist of Black Latina heritage, proudly embraces her Dominican and Puerto Rican roots. She serves as an artistic producer to the Dominican Artists Collective, contributed to the DAC's The Cooking Project, showcased by New York Theater Workshop in 2021, and finds creative solace in the Latinx Playwrights Circle. With a rich theatrical background, Maribel has acted in diverse productions, spanning classical and contemporary work across off-Broadway and regional stages. Her TV appearances include shows on Netflix, CBS, ABC, BET Plus, and Peacock, who is like my new favorite app
I love
thing to watch.
Yes. Our sister is doing amazing things.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you. We're out here trying.
Yeah. Well, you're made for this. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful to have you, with us, to share some of your experiences and, your work. We're so happy to have you.
Oh, thank you for
Mhm.
having me.
Mhm.
I'm honored.
Mhm.
We fell in love with you when we went to watch the Bees and Honey
Bees and
play.
Honey.
It's it was so relatable. I felt
It
like
was
it
so
was me
good.
on that stage. Thank you.
Mm. Oh
Really
yeah.
thank
I
you.
mean, I think that was like definitely a goal. That Wadalis del Carmen, who's a playwright, wanted to make sure that we can see ourselves on stage.
Mhm.
And it's some, it's hard to do sometimes in these different industries. And so I pay a lot of my homage and to Wadalis, who wrote the piece um, and entrusted this character on to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
and also I want to say I remember you all coming to see the show afterwards, meeting you all, and just being like, "Wow, what a like fabulous lady
Wow.
group!"
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you. That's
you.
very humbling and nice to hear. Yeah, we try to roll like that as cousins as much as we can, and
Mm-hmm.
stay connected. We need to
Mm-hmm.
build that relationship amongst us women and support one
Mm-hmm.
another. So it's pretty dope.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So Maribel, when did you discover your passion for like acting and what inspired you to be in this whole like career of performing arts?
Wow. So I think I've told the story a couple of times, but I think that the moment that I realized that I wanted to do this was actually in middle school. I think it was like seventh grade. Am and was particularly a pretty quiet kid because of different things, right? There was trauma happening, and just naturally, I'm a pretty quiet person. Um, and my counselor had told me that I should go and take drama as a way, I guess, to open me up.
Mm.
And so I went ahead and took it. One of the first assignments was to create a monologue piece based on anybody,
Mm.
alive, dead. You'd have to write the monologue and then perform it for the class. Very simple assignment. Um, my grandmother, I had just spent the summer in Santo Domingo. My grandmother had just passed, like
Oh.
that summer, uh, pretty recent before then. And so I, you know, was inspired to write it based on her voice. And yeah, as like a homage, but as a way of honoring her, but also like a way of connecting to her. I remember that visit. So many new things I was experiencing, right? Like I had never gone, sorry, this is morbid.
No,
A little bit morbid.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No,
But this is the first funeral that I had gone to in Santo Domingo with, you know, where they have the body at home.
Very different.
Right?
Yes. Very
And it's very
Yeah.
different, right? She's like sitting there. I was 10, I think 11.
Wow.
And 11 or 12, and her body was there in a casket in our home for many nights, right? And she was there living with us, and I could see how she decomposed. Also, like she loved Palo, and so she asked specifically. She knew she was gonna pass too. She kind of had told everybody in a way. She said, you know, I'm not gonna come back. She went to San Juan, which is where my family's from.
Okay.
She went to San Juan and was like, I'm not gonna come back. And so they kind of knew. So we had gathered information of how she wanted when she passed, how she wanted her El Velorio. And there was Palo. That was the first time I was introduced to Palo. There were, I mean, my cousins were telling me like ghost stories, you know, like
Oh my God.
I was
so much information.
It was so much. I was immersed in so much Dominicanidad.
Yeah.
That I think informs so much of who I am even now, right? And so anyway, we do this piece. I write in her voice. I don't even remember. I wish I had kept it because now it's like such a part of who I am. But I do remember the feeling of feeling very connected to her, feeling like I'm channeling something. I mean, I didn't have those words then, but I did feel like, oh, there's a part of me that was filled by her. And I think, I don't know if in that moment I was like, oh yeah, that's what's happening. But I know that that's something that I carry into how I perform, how I hope to be creating work, is that I am a channel for these stories. So with Johaira and Bees and Honey, like I would sit with her and ask her to tell me what she needed. I would try to send her so much love because, you know, the play was, we all saw ourselves in it because there's a lot of trauma in there. She's making some bad choices, you know? Oh, and there's depression that she's dealing with, you know, and she's dealing with grief and loss and miscommunications and all of this that was hard as the person carrying it, but also I'm sure hard if this person really existed in the world, which to me she does spiritually.
Yeah.
And she does among community, right? Like you all,
Absolutely.
so many people came up to me and said, I saw myself, that was my story.
Yes.
I connect with her in so many ways. Then I am the channel to that connection.
Delivering that, like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that I think the first little kernel of I love this thing that I do was that monologue from my abuela, and now I carry her with me all the time, every performance.
So you saw it more of like tapping into people's energy and showing it.
Yeah,
Is that more of what it felt like in that moment?
I think in that moment it felt like, it's hard to, I mean, this is like forever ago, but I think in that moment it felt like I get to share my abuela with you all, and I get to sit with her and feel her and maybe imagine like what she wanted and what she was thinking and how she felt. And I get to feel that for myself, and I get to share that with you all. Um, and then from that, it's evolved to, I also get to give to that spirit, that character, that being, the audience. I get to give that to them. But yeah, in that moment, it felt like I get to share my abuela with you all, and you all didn't get to meet her, but here she is, and here are her words that I'm imagining she's saying. And here's how she feels and what she wants. Yeah.
And at what age did you do that?
That must have been like, I mean, I think I was 12 when she passed. 11, 12. Yeah. Of course, like at the time, I don't know if at the time I was like, I'm tapping in, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but now that you have the awareness, you can
Yeah.
say that.
Yeah. Now that I've like, I've had training and I understand, and I've also like created a practice of my artistry. Now I'm like, oh, that's what was happening. I think I just felt excited to share my abuela, you know, at the time, and
So beautiful.
and to get to feel her in that time, you know, and that was magic. That's magic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it sounds like a very spiritual experience, even though in that moment you didn't know that that was happening. The way that you're describing it, it sounds like it was so spiritual.
Yeah.
It was like she was literally like within you.
And that's what I feel like art is to me. It feels like a tapping into God, spirits, the universe, the collective, humanity, you know. When it's art that I want to make, when it's good art, when it's art. You know, sometimes we do the career can be just performance, and and can be that. But I think when I'm what I'm doing as an artist, and that's what I'm doing, I'm it's a spiritual practice to me.
So how do you like navigate that world, you know, where being who you are could be an issue, you know, can be a problem to some?
I think it definitely is. I think it's used against me and for me sometimes. I think I think the blessing of Bees and Honey and people like Guadalis and the community, the Latinx playwright community, and Dominican Artists Collective, you find the places that are telling the stories that this body could live in, right? And I think I've always been interested in finding the spaces, the way, and the plays where my body can exist, where my big hair can exist, where my big ass can exist, where my big thighs can exist, where this brown skin can exist. I think when I started, you know, when I was doing like scene study classes in undergrad or even in grad school, I've kind of forged my way into making that space for myself and going, okay, in this Shakespeare play, you don't see me, but I'm here. And it wasn't written for me, but I'm here. And the verse sounds like this, but I got rhythms that were gifted to me by my ancestors that actually will serve this Shakespeare verse better. So, not better, you know what I mean? Different.
I agree with better.
Yeah. So I have something to give to this, and so though I am trained and though I, can do the things that will get me the jobs at, in a Shakespeare play, I'm interested in disrupting that space. And I feel that way about, like, even, okay, we're going into Shakespeare, I guess, like, but I'm saying, like, in plays that were written by men, where the women, you kind of go, there's something funky about that, like you're giving, the voice is not fully developed, the desires aren't quite right, or Shakespeare was writing women performed by men, and he's a dude, you know what I mean? So, like, most of those women, sometimes you sit there and you go, either they don't say anything, right? Yeah. Or what they do say, it's in service to the men. I forged a way, I think, I believe, my job has been to forge the way of finding how to make this a dignified whole person. And that this dignified whole person, you're not just going to use my skin, my hair, my butt, my to make this more exciting for people to watch or whatever. I'm going to make sure that this person is a whole person, because what I want is for you all to come see the play and see yourselves in it and go, that I wouldn't have imagined that I could be on that stage. And there is my hermana fucking killing it, and she's representing me, and I think I've always been very aware of that, even when I mean, I was lucky enough to, sorry, I'll stop after this, but I was lucky it's a podcast, you're supposed to talk. But I think I was lucky enough to start my theater practice in Miami. I grew up in Miami, where we did have many Latinos of very different origins. But the theater is still the theater. And so we were doing a lot of, like, plays by white people, and going, okay, well, that obviously isn't me. I'm not this British person, but I'm still me, and I'm still the instrument that's being used. So how do I make myself comfortable in this space? So I think I was lucky in that way,
right? Instead of, like, altering to another character, you used it to your advantage.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah. And I tried my best to. And then as I grew more and more in my career, I realized, I also can, and also as more playwrights came to be writing work, even now, I mean, there's such a small amount of people writing plays for Afro-Latinas, right? Or those that are not being produced in big visual ways, right? So even now there's still more ground to cover, and I don't have the answers. But I know that it's evolved to go, there are spaces that are written for me, and so now I get to, like, maybe relax and think about other things in my art making. I want to share a quick anecdote. When I started Bees and Honey, when we were first in rehearsal, because we were in rehearsal for it March 2020.
Oh, during COVID.
Wow.
Yeah, like right before.
Like right before it.
Oh my gosh.
The original, the first time that we were going to put it up.
Wow.
And yeah, we can go into the history of
Oh,
the production of it.
wow.
But I remember I had spent so much time prior to that in my professional career doing classical work and really like doing that thing that I was just explaining, like forging my way into like this character that wasn't written for me, doesn't sound like me, doesn't look like me. You know, sometimes in those plays they say like she's her cheeks are pink blushing, you know, and you're like, okay, my skin doesn't do that. So what does that mean? Right? Being in these rooms that I like had to be like, I'm Black, I'm Latina, that means something to this character. I'm a woman, that means something to this character. I spent so much time doing that prior to being in the room for Bees and Honey that I remember having a conversation with Alice and I remember I had a moment of like, oh, I've had to fight to exist in these plays so often that now it's really difficult just to exist.
Wow.
And I had to like kind of recalibrate, allow trust to come in, breathe in a different way, and be held in a different way to do this piece.
That's so interesting. It's like I know that it's part of acting, but you're describing what a lot of Black and brown females go through in corporate America.
Yep, same
They
thing.
are in this space and
Just
they have
existing.
to constantly be like, I am who I am and I'm going to hold this space.
Yeah.
That's what it is. I know that it's not corporate America you're doing acting, but the way that you're experiencing it, right, and describing it, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, it's very similar to that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm you're saying that now, and I'm like, well, the thing is that these are institutions, right? And they're white, patriarchal, capitalistic institutions, not built for us, right?
No.
Actually built to exclude.
So beautiful because you're just like embracing, like, here I am. We're in this round table with all these people that don't look like me, but I'm going to embrace and take up space with my hair, with my voice, with the skin color, like, and I am entitled to this space.
I love that.
I wish it was that. I wish it had been that like cute and simple and easy. It wasn't.
No, absolutely not.
It was very messy, and I'm sure I have a feeling I have a reputation for like being a little bit of a disruptor and maybe a lot of a disruptor, hopefully.
But isn't that what happens anytime any woman has anything to say?
I'm sure it wasn't easy, but to make that conscious choice to be like, no, I'm going to show up how I need to show up, even if it means I'm going to, disrupt the norm. It couldn't have been easy because I'm sure maybe you had like that little fear, like if I do this, like how many bridges am I going to burn? Or like, where is this going to take me? So it's an act of like courage for anyone to be like, I am going to disrupt the shit out of this, pathetic norm.
And the beauty about that is you're paving the way for those that, especially like, us Latinas, seeing you in that play, it was relatable and also felt so good to see you, playing these, this character. And for us to like feel it so much in our hearts because through that, even you describing your abuelita, it's like certain, like that touches my heart too, because I love both my abuelitas and I learned so much and I got to be with them, at a personal level and live with them at certain points. So you just bringing that up is just making me feel connected now, so I love having like these connections with, us together. I love that.
I love it because for me, like, I feel like I am always so happy. And I feel like every Dominican maybe goes through the same thing. But I'm always so happy when I see my people. Like, I love when any Latino from are winning. I love it. But there's something about seeing a Dominican being recognized. See, if it's like it's like this proudness. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
because if I feel like Dominicans are kind of like showing up now. I feel like we haven't really been.
They haven't given us the spotlight.
The spotlight.
That's
And
exactly
what
They
we
really
have,
haven't.
it's not really in a positive way, you know?
Yeah.
So to see like a Dominican being
like
out there in the
stereotypical stuff.
spotlight and doing great things is just, it makes me so happy.
Yeah.
Because it's like that's me. I'm living through you.
Oh, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. It doesn't feel like that in the moment. It doesn't feel like that right now in the aftermath.
Yeah.
In the middle of it, sometimes I feel like you do it because you have to survive. You do it. I do it sometimes because I have to survive in a room because I love this thing. God gave me this gift. I mean, even it being attached to my abuela, like, I sometimes I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
Sometimes I'm like, I mentioned before we started recording, I'm like having a really hard time because our industry's shut down. And it's just been really rough. It's been rough. And sometimes I go, I could have made easier choices in my life. But I also know that I love this thing so much. And I also know that partially it's not just that I love this thing so much, which is fine. You can do the thing you love and not have, but I need to hear and I appreciate that it has effects on the outside world, that that this thing that I'm sacrificing sometimes myself for is feeding people, and especially you all. Yeah,
You're definitely
so
doing
sorry.
it.
You
No,
are.
I mean, everything happens for a reason. Look at this,
Yeah.
Maybe this is exactly what you needed to hear, how much you have inspired us, And
Yes.
thank you for sharing that. And again, taking the time to be with us today. This is, I feel you, girl. I do.
We're very proud of you.
Yes. Thank you. I
Yeah.
really appreciate that. Also,
This is not for nothing, girl. We feel you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And thank you. And I know it's really hard work.
Yeah.
It's extremely hard. It's every day a struggle.
Yeah.
It's grueling, competitive. Like,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm just, I thank you for like reflecting that that's also happening in other, you get so insulated in the thing that you're doing in the industry that you're doing. It's also, it sucks to hear that the struggle is also happening, in outside worlds, but maybe we need to hear it so that we can go, oh, it's not, if I decide at some point, my mom's like, mira, mija, ven pa casa y tú puedes ser una enfermera. And I'm like, great, I could do that. I can do that. And life would be very different. But I can. But it's not going to be any easier because I have this part of me that needs to.
It's your dharma, lady. It's your gift. It's you. It's a part of you. And you deliver it so well and so naturally. Like when you have a gift, it's so effortless. You just make it flow. You make it look easy because you, like you say, you're intuitive about it.
Yes, you
like
are.
you said. And becoming a nurse nowadays.
I know. I'm like,
ese otro dolor de cabeza.
No, ella no sabe. Pero ven,
Patriarchy to the freaking.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, okay, great. Yeah, no, nobody's gonna want to hire me because I'm gonna be like, so you can't speak to women like that. And like nobody's gonna want to hire me anywhere. I'm gonna be a mess. They're gonna put me. I'm not gonna make any money. So we'll just be in the same predicament, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like we'll have to
It's so
live, I
funny.
don't know where, like
Yeah.
underneath our own like rock,
Mm,
all us women
mm,
trying to
mm,
Oh
build
yeah.
our
mm.
own like community, a country,
Yeah.
something.
Oh my
Like,
god. So talk a little bit like about kind of like your upbringing, because you're first generation
Mhm,
American, correct?
mhm,
And you grew up in Miami.
mhm.
So how was that? How was that, you know, experience for you?
Um, yeah, in many ways I am very happy or grateful to have been raised in Miami because there were so many different types of Latinos around us all the time. And my mom was very good about like, oh, we're gonna go to the Dominican salon and we're gonna go and get longaniza and we're gonna go to the Dominican festival, and like she needed that sense of community and um, our people around her. Um, and then also it was great to like, be around all sorts of Latinos and sprinkle in there a couple white people and a couple of black people where I grew up. But then the thing that I sometimes am like, I wish I'm curious about being raised somewhere like in New York where there's I don't know. It took me a long time to realize that I'm black. Um, and because my family, my abuela used to say, la única cosa negra aquí soy yo y la cazuela. You know what I mean? Like, and the idea of mejorar la raza and all of that, right?
yeah.
And so, yeah, when I went to grad school was the first time that I was like, I've been very fortunate, I think, to be in a space, and maybe not fortunate because I didn't, to be in a space where I didn't have to think about the micro aggressiveness of it all or the macro aggressiveness of it all, because I didn't understand that I was, ignorance is bliss, right? Um, and then I moved to New York, and I'm like, different world. Then I moved to California to go to grad school, and I was like, oh, um, and then I go back to my family and go, nosotros somos negros.
And they're like, what?
Exacto.
Para eso fue que tú te
No.
fuiste para allá. Aprende
Exactly. I'm like, I love Oshun and Yoruba, and they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, this is the shit that we come from. Oh, am I a
Yes.
little? No, that way.
No, we got. I hear you.
You're good.
Cool. Yeah. So, yeah, there's something about being around your Latinidad for so long that for me is beautiful and helpful. And it's funny, you said American, and I have such a hard time, maybe because I'm from Miami. I have such a hard time identifying with my Americanness. I don't often think of myself as American, though I am. I don't describe myself as that. Yeah. And I wonder
I
if
can
it's
see
because,
why.
yeah, I wonder if it's partially because I was raised in like this. Miami's a crazy place. People talk mostly Spanish. People eat, like every corner, the awnings are all in Spanish. It's a different place than America, quote unquote, where you see,
Yeah.
In other
yeah,
places, in other states, right?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
at least Miami, as you can see, is more accepting with our, Hispanic, Latino world. And there's multiple other, like there's Haitians, there's a lot of, like it's a
Mm-hmm.
mix of
Mm-hmm.
everything. And then like at least New York, it's diverse in like so many countries, even European, it's diverse in that sense. But there's other states that is like barely any like people of like POCs at all. We're like aliens.
Yeah.
And they'll look at you like it too. Like, wow.
But you know
Never seen
what?
one of these.
Yeah, it's so interesting because New York is considered a very diverse city, right? And state. But you know, I'm a native New Yorker, born and raised, and it's pretty much the experience is very similar, Maribel, because our school system is very segregated. So even though we're in New York City,
Right.
we go to school with Black and brown people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so then when you go to college, you like, oh,
Right.
that's when you start realizing the difference.
Exactly.
Even though you're in New York City.
Right.
Yeah. And even though I've always said this, you're in New York, the white people from New York are different from like when you go away to like a college or something to other white people.
It's a different,
it's very different. It's a very different experience. Yeah,
I feel that way about. I mean, and Miami, it feels so segregated. I mean, there, you have where the Haitians live, right? Even though, like, I'm like, hey, we're from the same island. And then you have the Spanish-speaking Latinos kind of congregate together, and then you have, the white people that I honestly I didn't meet. I didn't grow up. I think I remember like one white person in my childhood. And then I think I remember like 3 Black American people, it's a very, very different growing up.
It's just so interesting because New York, they have so much pride about the diversity, but it's very segregated. The towns, the neighborhoods, the school system. So wherever you're at, we're not all living together happily ever after.
But then, and the interesting part though is that when you go uptown, though you are segregated from whiteness, I mean, until gentrification, blah blah. You're still around different.
You still
and
see
so
it.
So then I get to New York and I'm like, my people, like everywhere, and I love this. And like I lived in Flatbush for a bit, and we had Jamaican patties, and we had like it was so.
Just go downstairs and get yourself whatever you want, literally.
Exactly.
Every order has a little bit of something.
Everything, right? Like there's this Afro-ness in a different way than even if you go up in Harlem, even sometimes, right? Like there's I don't even know how to describe it. That I went, oh, I fit here. I'm Black and I'm Latina and I fit here. I'm Caribbean. It makes sense. My people.
It's true.
Yeah.
There is a little bit more of a sense of welcoming.
Yeah. Or like we're all in this massive struggle together and we're figuring it out, and this is our home, versus like in Miami is very like, this is our home, go away. And we're all struggling to like, I don't know, go live in the Grove or whatever. Anyway, that's my upbringing. Eventually I came back with my learnings to Miami, and my family went, no. But now they're coming around. My nephews are like, their Blackness is like a big part of who they are and has always been. So it's really beautiful to see. I'm like inspired by them, and hopefully I think me bringing some of that conversation home also help aid that.
That's beautiful when we see them really embrace who they are, Like I see that in all our kids, with my
Yeah.
cousins. They all really embrace their like who they are as Latinos, as a Black person, as a person
Dominican.
that's, they're Dominican and living differently than, other people. So I love that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
They carry
Yeah.
her very well.
that's right. Like, I wish
Yeah.
I had learned earlier.
Me
I
too.
Same here.
Yeah,
Same here. I
Yeah.
same here. Yeah.
all
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
due time. All in due
It
time.
was
But
different. Yeah. Different times back then. But going back to Bees and Honey because we loved it.
dime.
How did that come about? Like how did you find this role? Did the role
Yeah,
find you? Like how did that happen?
yeah.
And by the way, you and I don't remember what's the guy's
Xavier,
name.
Xavier.
You
Xavier
guys have
Pacheco.
like an amazing chemistry. It was
Oh,
Yes.
insane. Yeah.
yeah. He was incredible. So yeah, when I had just moved out of, I did grad school here in California actually, and I moved back to New York because I knew that I wanted to figure out a way to be more myself in the theater world, and it didn't feel like it could really happen in LA at the time. Um, now you like see a few Dominican women who are like killing it in the industry here, but back then the things that I was auditioning for, everything was Mexican, which I'm down for, but also if a Mexican actor could do this thing, you should hire a Mexican actor. And so I couldn't reconcile staying here, so I went to New York, knowing that I wanted to like be part of my community and right, the things that I've explained said earlier, that are important to me. And I went to this audition. It was for another play, and they do like these open calls. And I did a piece in front of this director. I didn't get the part, but uh, his name is David Mandizabal. He gave my name to Guadalis and
Mm.
was like, "Hey, this Dominican actor came in. You should, if you need one." And Guadalis wrote like this at the time, had written, and this is like 2016, 2017, had written a 10-minute play that she needed an actor to perform. And so she called me, and that's the first time that we got to work together. And the piece was really interesting. It's like basically like how Black women's bodies are used for science, if I can remember correctly.
Mm.
Wow.
Very different from Bees and Honey. So she was like really examining this thing, and there's like a scientist, and you have this my body laying on the slab, right? And so we did that, and then I think 2018 she had the first draft of Bees and Honey, and there was a play festival, a new play festival with the Soul Project. They have I think like 4-6 playwrights come in, and they do like a weekend of reading these plays, and you get a little bit of time to workshop the play. And that was the first time I got to do it. We spent like 3 days around reading the play. She edited a bunch. We talked about the play. We talked about like the things that I couldn't understand, or the things I was excited about. The other character as well. Xavier wasn't a part of that yet. There was another actor working with us, and another director. And so we spent like those 3 days working on it, and then we presented it. And people loved it. People were very touched. People were talking about like, when is it going to get produced? It should be a TV show, like all sorts of, lots of great feedback, right? And so that was 2017. And then, 2020, and in between, well, Elise was like, you know, would like ask me to read the play, and she also workshopped it with a couple of other actors and different theater companies. One of them here in San Diego, as plays do, right? Like playwrights take the plays and work them everywhere, and it just kept coming back to me. And then, yeah, so March 2020, we started rehearsal for a production with another theater company, not MCC. And we were in it was going to be much smaller production. It was going to be, the production value was going to be different. Different other Manuel. Yeah. And we were like in our second week of rehearsal, like we had just blocked the play, which is when you like the actor and the director figure out what people are going to move on stage, and on what lines and why you move places. And so we had just gotten through the first pass of that when COVID hit. And I remember like March 10th or whatever it was, we were in rehearsal and we're like, should we go home? Like, I think we need to go home. It seems like something's happening and we need to go. And me and the other actor at the time, Sean, we, you know, packed our stuff and we walked. We were in a rehearsal space on 8th Ave and like 30 something. And we walked all the way to Columbus Circle, and we stopped and like got some food at Whole Foods, I think, because it was packed and jammed. And we're like, okay, I guess maybe I'll see you again, like soon, hopefully. And then the next day we got the calls from the producer saying like it's not gonna, for right now, it's not gonna move forward.
Wow.
Right, like everything was shutting down by that time. Broadway had shut down, and
the whole
it felt
world
like
went at a standstill.
the end of the world. Then later that year, like in the fall, we were gonna maybe do a version of it, and we like started. At that time, the actor couldn't be a part of it anymore.
Wow.
And so we're auditioning people. My partner now actually auditioned for it. I guess.
Oh, wow.
Apparently I met him because I often would read with the other actors that were auditioning. Apparently he was like, I met him. Though I don't super recall, but I kind of recall because I remember him being very good. And I remember him writing down his name on my agenda. He was one of the people that we auditioned. But then the play got pulled for different reasons. So yeah, then there came the play not happening again. And I was like, no, it was awful.
Wow.
Again, heartbreak
Wow.
number 2.
That's so tough. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then finally, sometime in the middle of 21, Elise gave me the call and said that we're moving forward with MCC was picking up the play, and all these brilliant designers were going to be a part of it, and we're looking for a new Manuel again. And we auditioned a bunch of people in like January. I was actually in LA with my partner, hanging out here because nothing was happening in New York, and they had auditioned people. We did like an online version again, and then I went to the callbacks to read with the Manuels that were in person, and yeah, Xavier was extraordinary. Like he was brilliant and kind and so prepared and malleable and alive and present. And we all knew, like, I think they all were like, yeah, And pretty much at the end of that little session, that was a journey.
Wow.
Wow. That's a long journey.
It's a long journey.
Journey.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not think all of
I know. Isn't that crazy? Like these things that we see. I mean, it happens, I think, especially with movies. You like learn that it was supposed to be one thing with this one actor at some other time, but then the money got pulled or somebody couldn't do it anymore, and then it transforms, and now it's this other thing 10 years later.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been a journey with Johanna. It was very hard to let her go. They're actually doing it up in near San Francisco, and I was so tempted to be like, I'm auditioning.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for Johanna to be somebody else's hands. But
wow. Well, you
she's been
carried
with me for a long
Johaina
time.
really well. And that's been quite a journey.
Yeah.
To because you basically you were the first cast for that play, and you basically like brought her into a real character.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, even during the rehearsal process, like the day before, we got like a whole the beginning with them in the different spaces, and it's like bachata. That was all new. Like a day before we started rehearsals, we had during previews things were changing. As it happens, like that's how new work. It's very exciting that way because you never know what it's actually going to be.
Yeah.
So I think it was my job to be like very present in what Johaira's needs and wants and desires, and just make sure that she's whole and intact throughout all those changes, because there was a lot of change.
Wow.
That sounds like so amazing.
Yeah.
Really, it does.
Yeah.
So we really want to respect your time, but I have 2 more questions.
Yeah.
Sure, that will end right away.
I feel like I'm like, once upon a time, when I was in my mother's womb.
We love it. We love it.
Yes.
But with all of the experience and everything that you've talked about, going through your journey, is there any advice for any Latino, Latina, especially Dominicans, who want to start their journey in acting?
Oh, yes.
I'm thinking about like the things that I wish I had known. And it's hard to say that honestly, because you don't know. Even if I say this, I think I did hear a lot of people go, it's a hard business and it's going to be tough. And there are going to be times where you don't have jobs. I was very fortunate coming out of grad school that it's always kind of snowballed to I have jobs, and to the point where I stopped having to work other jobs and I could focus on this thing because I didn't have time to do anything else. And not that I was making a ton of money, but like my time was consumed by doing the work that I and pandemic on, even in the pandemic, I had a year where I was so busy. You don't realize, I think, I didn't realize that when people say there's going to be dry spells, what they meant. I thought it was like, yeah, but that's like if you're like not good at it. That's like if you whatever. I don't know. It's not like I couldn't have envisioned that there's going to be a strike for 5 months, and that I was going to decide to move to LA and not have a job or a support system. Like life happens, and so you have to live life. I think that's the important part as an actor starting out, is that you have to be committed to this being a practice, that it's not at least in the way that I think I practice my art as an actor. It's art, and I'm an actor. There are actors who don't do that, right? They act and they say the people's words, and that's not who I am. And So if the thing is that you're gonna be an artist, you have to be committed to the practice of it, and the practice of it is lifelong.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so far for me has been, and I think for a lot of us, in different ways, it means that your life doesn't look like what everybody else's life looks like.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like
So,
patience and faith and love for self and self-care,
yeah.
learning how to take care of yourself, most
yes.
importantly, I think. Yeah, I'm still learning that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. That was so beautiful. Yeah.
And jumping in and take and listening to your heart, and listening to, like, you know, right now I need to make money to eat, so I'm gonna make money to eat. And like,
Yeah.
you know, like, it's not all gonna be flowers and rainbows and sunshine. And that's okay. Like, that's exactly what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I hear you.
Do you have any friends or anyone that supports you that is going through the same journey that you are as a Latina?
In the industry.
Yeah.
Like,
That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
yes. I think we're also, it's such a isolating time.
It is, right? I
Yeah.
was just telling that to my husband. Yes. Mm-hmm.
yeah. I feel like
Yeah.
in general.
Yeah. Y'all are making me think, and I'm I feel like oftentimes when I speak with people who are like-minded and people who are open and beautiful, and that we have to create those spaces, I'm realizing, because I do feel like, yes, but when we're all in survival mode, it's hard to, like,
Yeah.
Oh my God. You
To
couldn't
support
have
each
Yeah.
other, to
said it
be there for each other. Yeah.
yeah,
And this is when we
Yeah.
need it the most, but we don't, like,
right,
of course, like,
Yeah.
We
people
gotta-
are in their space and sometimes just stay in that space and not really share.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
it feels like what Jesse was saying, it's like, as a collective, it's like we're all so, like, caught up
Oh,
with
Yeah.
just day-to-day stuff, just trying to get through the day, that we are, isolating,
very much. Yeah.
just like in our own little, like, bubble. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're all making me think of, I do feel supported or loved on, by my Dominican Artists Collective, humans, and Latinx Playwright humans, and then I watch a clip of America Ferrera, saying her journey, and that inspires me to go, okay, that person made it. I actually thought about the other day, I was like, I need to make a vision board of people who have actually
Inspired you.
people who
That's
are
a good
working in this
idea.
industry, so I can
That
look
is a
at
good
them
idea.
every day and be like,
Yeah,
okay, well,
America
they
Ferrera
exist.
kicks ass.
Yeah, she's a boss.
Yeah.
Right, and
Yeah.
like Judy Reyes, who I had the pleasure of working with, like, it's seeing her and her husband, like, created the whole thing, like, like, these people who are out there, who are Latino, who are Latinas, who look like me, have done the work, and continue and thrive in the work. I think I need to visually see it, because this is the thing. Sometimes we don't get, again, going back to, like, representation, right? We don't see that often. I don't have anybody in my family who decided to be an artist, like,
Yeah.
so that's important.
Yeah.
Huge
Creating your
responsibility
circle.
when you're like breaking barriers or something that looks completely different for like the people we grew up with. Like, I remember explaining, like, just doing yoga to my family. They're like, ¿qué?
Uh-huh.
¿Qué tú estás?
Yeah.
I know.
hell
I'm
is
like,
that?
guys, look at this flamingo I could do. And they're like, ¿y
Yeah,
por qué
I'm
estás haciendo
like,
eso? I'm
I
like,
tell
because
my mom all the time, like, if you do this breath work, and I know if you walk on the grass, you're grounding. She's like, ay, Heidi, por favor.
Yo tengo demasiado oficio.
I
Yo no
like,
puedo estar
right?
ni que
Sometimes she just
caminando.
agree, ay, sí.
Exacto. I practiced Reiki, and my
Oh, I
mom,
love that.
yeah, my mom's knee was like all messed up, and I was like, "Bang, it's not gonna hurt you, If anything, you're just gonna sit there and lie down for a bit, and maybe that'll help, feel better or whatever." And she was like, "What the heck is this?"
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to forge.
know.
It's true.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're breaking cycles, right?
I
So
appreciate
it's
that
extremely,
reflection.
yeah,
I
Yeah.
it's
appreciate
important to create that circle. Y
Mhm.
hablando de our culture,
Yeah.
we have this question that we ask all our guests.
Signature question.
Uh-oh.
We want to know, no matter, Maribel, donde tú estás, you could be the richest, the famous, everything, all your dreams come true.
Uh-huh.
What is something that no matter where you're at, no one can take away from you that is your Dominican? It's in you, that it's very Dominican, that it's in you. No matter where you're at, tú puedes estar en tu mansión, tú puedes estar, mira, in Hollywood, pero that's a piece that you can't seem to, you just can't let it
That's
go.
that Dominican
That
part
Dominican-
of Maribel.
Okay, like the crude version of that is my ass. I don't know what other part of me, my hips, my thighs, like that part of my body is so Dominican to me.
Yeah.
Nothing, it doesn't matter. Right now I have a little bit of weight on me, but even when I'm like not, I'm a little more snatched, my ass and my thighs are always gonna be there. That's the most Dominican.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're like, that's
Yes.
Dominican.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also,
todo
like-
natural.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like that joy. You know what I love about going back home is always like, no matter how rough, there's like this intrinsic joy. Period.
Yes.
Like we're gonna find laughter. We're gonna find una cervecita. We're gonna find, we're gonna find it. We're gonna find a merenguito. We're gonna find la bachata. Like we're gonna find it. We're gonna.
Yeah.
It's like so it's part of, you work and you struggle and you thrive for whatever long, but then the weekend is for,
Yes.
Yeah.
We're hard workers.
Yeah.
We make it happen. It's so funny. We were talking about that, my husband, because we went out to grab something to eat, and we see there's these Dominicans that do car wash, and it's getting dark in New York City by already 4:00. It's dark. So they had these special lights.
Like floodlights?
Yeah, like so that they don't have to close down and they can still wash cars.
Like, look at me, we're right here. Business people.
Yeah,
That's what I'm talking about.
He's like, yo,
Hustlers.
nosotros no la buscamos. We figure it out.
Yeah.
The Dominican, yeah. And that's the beauty. And I feel like, that's what we want to see more of us. Like that is in us. Like we are hardworking people, and I sometimes I feel like we are portrayed in a different light that is not the best. But we're so much more than that. Like really, really, really are.
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I love that.
Agreed.
And we're proud people. Dominicans are proud to be Dominican. And they're proud of their people. Mira, si hay un dominicano en una banda, ellos no le importa que esa banda sea whatever language, un dominicano para ese voz. Yo, it's like, He's Dominican. That's it. He got my
That's
support.
right.
Right. It's true. It's true.
So,
Mm.
girl, keep doing your thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes, keep shining
amazing to
that
have you.
beautiful light that you have.
Mhm.
You definitely have a beautiful spirit, and
You
you can
do.
feel it. So don't change. Continue showing up as you, because, girl, you inspire those like-minded people. Light attracts
mm,
light, and
okay.
even to those that are
Absolutely.
out there that need that light, you shine that
Yeah.
on them. So.
Mm.
Yes. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you all for shining your light on me.
Yes.
Yes. Keep on tapping onto that passion.
Mm,
Yes.
Yes,
thank you.
Maribel, we love you.
Yeah.
Thank you so
We
much for your
love
Thank you
you.
so much
time.
for
Yeah.
joining us.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Oh,
Thank
and
you
where
for
can we
taking the
find you?
time.
Where can we find
Oh,
you?
yes.
We always
Oh, I'm on Instagram. My handle is Maribel on Insta. Like, actually, the whole word.
Yes.
I have a website. It's maribel-martinez.com. I'm on IMDb. Yeah. Find me
Awesome. And we
there.
will be showing it on the show notes too.
Yep.
And thank you again. So much love to you
Yay.
and yours. And have a great holiday.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes. Happy holidays.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, Maribel, for being part of our
Mm.
podcast. We're so happy to have. It was such a pleasure to just talk to you.
Definitely a
Thank you so
pleasure.
much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.